Hey everyone, Only Run Very New, back with another video of some Bravo gameplay. Today we're going up against Viserai. I'm trying to fist Buckler plan into Viserai. Normally I like to bring a Nothos because Terra Sunder is pretty good. Viserai gets a lot worse on 2 cards. With this hand, I'm just making a Surge and then heaving the Thunderquake. I don't want to let him cycle, and I don't have too much to do with that hand anyway. Tome of the Arknight, that's an interesting one. A little high rolly, but definitely inconsistent. And he misses, showing me a blue Vexing Malice and a blue Deathly Duet. So they'll even have a couple blues in their hand next turn. What are they going to be able to do? Just a blue Spellblade Assault. We don't really want to be taking damage here because we don't have, unfortunately we don't have a good enough hand to do much of anything with. So I think I do block with Warmonger's Diplomacy, aiming to play the Thunderquake and then arsenal the Sink Below. But maybe playing the Sink Below and arsenaling the Diplomacy would be better. I think they're both fine options. Oh, I even go to, oh, never mind. Yeah, you can tell I'm trying to think about how I'm going to block here. Because I do want to block. So I go for the Sink Below. So it looks like next turn with 4 Surges, my Thunderquake for 8 and Arsenal only costs 2, so I'll make a Surge, attack him for 8, and arsenal the Diplomacy just in case he has a big turn that I block out and play the Diplomacy. All in all, a fairly inefficient turn from both me and my opponent. So yeah, make a Surge and attack him for 8. Not the best, but it's something. I feel like Warmonger's Diplomacy is pretty good against Viserai, like, just kind of makes it so they can't do too much of anything. So having that in arsenal over the Sink Below, still not 100% sure on that decision, but I think it could be, it's at least reasonable. He just takes the damage, which is kind of scary. Must mean that it's a pretty big turn. We have a hand that could dominate a Spinal if he's not doing too much, but after taking 8 and keeping 4 cards, we're probably going to be forced to block here. Pause it real quick. So he has 4 go again with 3 Rune Chance. He has a bunch of armor, so dominating the Spinal isn't like insane. I probably just try to mitigate damage, play the Warmongers out of arsenal, and then maybe arsenal the Spinal. With him having Crown of Providence up, I'm not putting like too much value on the Command and Conquer either. So yeah, it looks like I'm trying to block with the Command and Conquer. Use the blue Disable to block in whatever way is most efficient, whether that's preventing arcane damage or blocking on an attack. and then play out the Warmongers and arsenal the Spinal. Oh yeah, and we knew he had those 2 blues because that's what he revealed. I wasn't even thinking about that. So this is 8 damage. So we're just going to end up AB3ing and then taking 5. Playing the Warmonger's Diplomacy, hopefully that's stops a lot of his turn and sets us up to Spinal Crush him the turn after that. Of course, we can't dominate the Spinal because we're under the effects of Warmonger's Diplomacy. We're going to choose War. Hopefully it hurts our Viserai opponent way more than it hurts us. I think generally it will. He just comes in with the Deathly Duet red, which is pretty good because, as we see, he pitches a non-attack and an attack, so he gets to make 2 rune chants and come in for 6, which is about as good as he could hope for under the effects of Diplomacy there. I think we just block 6, yeah, and then send Spinal. Again, the Chokeslam and the Command and Conquer aren't like hugely impactful threats. Command and Conquer can be good once Crown's gone, but with Crown up, it's just not the best. I think one of the best parts about it is it lets us make a surge and still send 6, even though we don't have an Othos. Just sending the Spinal, of course, not making a surge because we can't under the effects of Diplomacy. Hopefully we catch him with a lot of 2 blocks in his hand, so he might have to use equipment here. He blocks with his Crown on the Spinal, which makes the 2 of our Command and Conquers being gone kind of not as great, but I'm sure that played into his reasoning for using the Crown. Or maybe he just really needs to fix his hand. We get a red Mauvrin Skies. I think that's pretty good for us. I mean, that's one of their premium on-hit effects. He's using a lot of armor. He's going to be down 5 life. We still have all our armor. I think it's a decent spot. Of course, a 4-card Viserai hand can be very scary. This hand's kind of trash. We just sort of want to block 9 and send 4 with hammer. So hopefully he gives us a reasonable way to accomplish that. Rouse and Arsenal might be decent, but with Titan's Fist instead of a Nothos, you're not really looking to rouse, or like you're not really looking to trade a bunch to rouse. He pays 4 just to make a rune chant and then attacks with Thorn, which is interesting because he could have just blocked with some of those cards last turn. One of those is a 3 block. So it looks like he drew no attacks. Maybe he was really hoping to crown into an attack there, which is kind of greedy. So we can only really utilize 2 of our cards to stop 5 damage. Unfortunately, we don't have a big hand where we could just take 5 and send it. So we do Fist, and I think we do end up arsenaling the Rouse, as with Crown up, having an Arsenal is good. Rouse and Arsenal is still like a threat. I think it's a little bit more value than the Surge. In some matchups, it's like one of the best cards you want in your arsenal, but against Viserai, I don't think it's fantastic. Well, with this, we have a hand that can rouse, but he just took 4 from the hammer and has a 5-card hand. Have to assume that what's in Arsenal is either like a defense reaction or a non-attack action that'll beef up his turn. We're expecting a pretty big turn here out of Viserai. When Viserai has a lot of cards, they can do a lot of stuff. Revel and Rude Blood is a hell of a card. And I don't imagine he would just not block the hammer and then do nothing again like last turn. Wonder what I'm thinking about with a hand like this. It'd be kind of nice to clear the Rouse out of Arsenal without using the Crown. So maybe I'm hoping that I can just like block 3. But I'm not sure how much damage is appropriate to take here to rouse back. Like if he sends like a 20 damage turn, I'm not really looking to take 17 and block 3 just to rouse. There's a possibility I would even use Crown to get rid of the rouse so that I could block with 2 cards and still send Spinal. Or block with 3 cards and hammer for 4 and arsenal the Spinal. He pays for Runic Reckoning, which is not that efficient, and then he plays a Deathly Duet, blue. This doesn't seem like a great use of his resources. Definitely expecting like a Spellbound Creeper play or something here. But even then, I think he probably just wanted to like block and have another setup turn. He doesn't even get either of the modes off the duet because he didn't pitch a card to play it. He just had floating resources to play it. So here maybe I am looking to just block 3 and send Rouse back because 2 is absolutely an appropriate amount of damage to take to send the Rouse back. But we'll see what happens. He just passes back. I don't think there's a world where that's a correct for him. Maybe he has like 2 Revels in his hand and he is just holding them to try to push damage later, but I really don't like doing stuff like that in Flesh and Blood. I think the only deck that might be reasonable is Bolton Combo, like holding Lumina, because that deck just absolutely can't really do anything without the card. But in most other matchups, you just kind of have to take the value you're presented and move on. I don't think you can just like IP2 yourself. But you never know the level of competition on Talishar. Sometimes you play against really good players. Sometimes you play against not so great players that are new or learning a new hero before they buy the cards. I don't know who my opponent is. I don't really recognize names unless they have the same name on Discord or something. With a hand like this, I'm hoping to block like a tall attack with Starstruck and something else. He just plays a Revel in Rune Blood. Just to turn on Thorn and give Swarming Gloomveil go again. Not really an ideal use of those cards. I don't play Viserai, so maybe there's something I don't know about the hero to where these lines sort of make sense, but from my perspective, he's just not outputting enough damage to keep up with what I'm trying to do. And Bravo with a life lead is scary because I can just... Okay, so maybe it was that double Revel, and he's just finally cashing in his value because he did play that Revel from Arsenal. luckily for us, he does play a tall attack and amplify the Arcanite. So I think we just take all these rune chants, we block 6, get a surge from the Unity off Starstruck, and then dominate a Spinal. Oh no, I just give him all the armor and dominate a Starstruck. Maybe I'm thinking dominate Spinal won't get through because he has 3 armor block that he'd probably want to use. He has 4 with creepers, but you generally don't want to use creepers as just an Iron Rot. Not sure why I would block with so much armor there. The Amplify didn't have an on hit, but maybe I was thinking I want to get some armor value while I can before he just presents like a bunch of arcane damage and maybe like forces me to not get that value. So if he doesn't have a Sink Below or a Sink Below equivalent in hand, this Starstruck is going to crush. They do play attacks that have 6 power though, so it's not like an automatic time walk. But dealing 4 more damage is just good here. Let's see if he wants to give us armor so that he can play like a 6 attack. If he has one. Definitely feeling in the driver's seat in this game. I think our opponent had a couple unfortunate draws where his turn just wasn't presenting that much damage. And maybe even some questionable no blocks. Oh, he does give us creepers to stop the Starstruck. So hopefully he probably has like Mauvern Skies into another Red Shrill into Thorn. Otherwise, why would you block with the Red Shrill? Oh, so just Runic Reckoning into another Swarming? He had a 4 red hand. Maybe this was the most he could get. So here we dominate our Spinal because he has no armor left. Of course, blocking 6 with the Starstruck to trigger the Unity. And this game is getting kind of out of hand. I think our opponent had some unfortunate draws. I think it's going to be incredibly difficult for them to get out from this one. You know, we're up like 14 life. Next turn they don't get to do anything past 1 action. And even if we don't draw that well, we can throw like a blue attack or even just hammer for 4. We could even utilize our crown if they attack us with their 1 action to try to draw into something a little bit more aggressive. Since at this point I don't think we need to be conservative with our armor, we can just try to like finish this game. I think with him only having 1 action point, we can just take whatever damage he throws and then we can throw a Crippling Crush back. Maybe even using the crown to sink the Fate and try to get a blue so we can dominate it. I think both are reasonable. Like I said, I don't think at these life totals in this game state we have to be that conservative. No, just take the 2, or the 3 rather, with the Arcane, and throw 11 at him, completely stripping him of tempo. Getting rowdy out there. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but there's people like yelling outside at each other. It's funny how I can't ever tell if they're like friends yelling at each other or if something's going down out there. Ooh, it's a Rouse the Ancient's hand, although I'm probably just looking to dominate a Starstruck and end the game. Don't get to pitch stack a Rouse that is turned on because both of our blue attacks are 6, but I don't think that's going to come into play at any point. So he Sonatas for X equals 1, revealing 4 cards. And he gets a red Deathly Duet and a blue Shrill of the Skull form, so he hits 2. It's pretty good for him. Not sure it will be enough though, because I do have 5 armor that I can just throw in front of whatever he's trying to do, and then dominate a Starstruck to win the game. He pitches a card that wasn't revealed, so we know his hand is no defense react, so we pretty much are guaranteed that this Starstruck is going to kill. Can't imagine that you would see anything like Oasis Respite out of Viserai. Usually just see Sink Below. Sometimes you see Reduced to Rune Chant and maybe a more slow build. Those really haven't been popular for quite some time though. Yeah, just give him some armor and try to win the game. Oh, I guess I rouse. Definitely a mistake. We know that his card in Arsenal isn't a defense reaction, so we should just Starstruck for the win. And rouse into Titan's Fist while being 1 more damage is damage that he can block. So that was a gaffe. Maybe I just saw the hand that could rouse the Ancients and wanted to go for it. Upon rewatching this game, though, that's like a huge mistake. Obviously, in this game, it's not going to be a game-losing mistake, but missing lethal is about as big of a mistake as you can get. Because there is a world where I arsenal this Starstruck and then next turn I draw up like 4 reds and he has no cards left to attack me, so I can't even crown. He gives us the Grasp even though it blocks 0. Interesting. Okay, well, we avoided the all red hand, but we do go a little lower. Not that it's going to matter. Then we dominated Crippling Crush and win the game. But we should have just dominated Starstruck last turn and won the game. That's quite a big error. That's the sort of error that if you make it in like a tight spot, you could definitely end up losing a game that you're supposed to win. And we like to eliminate those even in games where we're way ahead. Maybe I was thinking there's a world where he has like red unmovable, and then the rouse play kind of makes him use red unmovable plus another card. Not too sure what I was thinking. I probably just saw the rouse was turned on and wanted to go for it. So yeah, I hope you guys liked the video. I'm going to keep trying to bring these daily, Monday through Friday. Maybe try to do something a little fun on Fridays like I did last week, showing that cool Riptide deck. But until next time.